Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that almost everything you've been taught about female desire is incomplete? That the real triggers, the deep currents that truly ignite it, are hidden in plain sight, but almost no one talks about them? Tonight, I'm pulling back the curtain, not on clichés, not on tired advice, but on the unspoken truths that can turn connection into chemistry and chemistry into something unforgettable. By the time you hear the last secret, you'll never look at desire the same way again. Imagine for a moment that you're listening to a piece of music. Not just any piece, one that stirs something in you so deep that you can't help but close your eyes and let it wash over you. Now, imagine if someone came to you and said, "This song is beautiful because of just one note. If you play that note over and over, you'll get the same effect." You'd probably laugh because you know it doesn't work that way. Beauty comes from the layering, the dynamics, the harmony, the tension and release. Every instrument, every pause, every swell in volume works together to create that emotional magic. That's exactly what female desire is like. It's not one thing, it's a whole orchestra. And the mistake so many people make is thinking they can press a single button and get the same response every time. They think there's one secret, one move, one trick that will unlock everything. But this is like trying to conduct a symphony with just a kazoo. It's not going to work. The truth is, desire is the sum of many elements, each as vital as the other. Some are obvious, the romantic touch, the physical attraction. Others are far more subtle, the way someone looks at you across a room, the way they listen when you speak, the feeling of safety they create just by being near. You can't isolate one and expect it to carry the entire weight. Think of emotion as the string section of this orchestra. Without it, the music might still play, but it will lack warmth and depth. Emotional connection is the part that gives meaning to everything else. It's the reason a light touch can feel electric, the reason a shared laugh can be more intimate than anything physical. The strings weave the melody that makes the rest of the orchestra come alive. Without it, everything sounds flat. Then there's the brass section, bold, confident, and unafraid to be heard. This is the thrill, the excitement, the sense that you're engaging with someone who is alive and unapologetic in their presence. It's the spark of attraction, the charisma, the confidence that says, "I know my worth, and I see yours too." Brass is what catches attention, what makes the heart race just a little faster. The percussion comes next, the steady beat of consistency and reliability. This is the trust and safety that underpins desire. Without it, the rest of the music feels chaotic, unstable. The percussion grounds the experience, letting all the other sections shine without the fear that the whole song will collapse. This is the part of desire that says, "You can lean into this, you can let go, you're safe here." And of course, every symphony needs its woodwinds, the unexpected flourishes, the gentle whispers that surprise you in the best way. This is where curiosity and novelty live. It's the side of desire that thrives on the unknown, the element of surprise. Maybe it's an unplanned trip, a spontaneous joke, or a small, thoughtful gesture that no one else would think to make. The woodwinds keep things from becoming predictable, breathing life into the familiar. When all of these sections play together, emotion, excitement, trust, curiosity, they create something you can't manufacture through shortcuts. It's not just the music itself, but the way it's delivered, the energy behind each note, the way it rises and falls and keeps you leaning forward, waiting for what comes next. This is why focusing on just one element of desire almost always leads to disappointment. You can have charisma, but without emotional depth, it feels hollow. You can have safety and trust, but without excitement, it feels platonic. You can have mystery, but without consistency, it turns into insecurity instead of intrigue. One section alone cannot carry the whole song. There's also the tempo to consider. Some moments call for a slow, lingering rhythm, letting time stretch so that every glance, every touch feels magnified. Other times call for an energetic pace, a burst of playfulness and spontaneity that makes the air feel charged. Knowing when to shift tempo is part of what keeps desire alive over time. If the music never changes pace, no matter how beautiful the melody, eventually it will blend into the background. And just like in a real orchestra, the conductor matters. The person bringing all these elements together needs to be fully present, attuned to the subtleties, responsive to shifts in mood and energy. It's not about dominating the music, it's about guiding it, balancing the sections so they enhance each other instead of competing for attention. Too much brass and the strings get lost. Too much percussion and the melody drowns. It's a dance of awareness and adaptability. It's worth noting that the audience, here, the person whose desire you're hoping to inspire, isn't passive either. They respond to the music, give feedback through their reactions, their body language, their energy. They might crave more strings one day, more percussion than XT. They might lean into the woodwinds when life feels too heavy, or seek out the brass when they need a jolt of vitality. Part of sustaining desire is staying curious about what they're responding to and being willing to adjust. And here's the beautiful, sometimes frustrating truth. The orchestra changes over time. Life shifts, experiences change people, and so the instruments that once spoke the loudest might need to be tuned differently. What was thrilling in the beginning might need to evolve into something deeper, more layered. The emotional strings might take center stage after a difficult time, while the brass might shine brightest during seasons of celebration. The best conductors know this and are willing to keep learning the score instead of assuming they've mastered it. When you start to see desire as this symphonic, multi-layered creation, it changes everything. You stop chasing the idea of a single, secret note and start thinking about harmony, texture, and interplay. You stop asking, what's the one thing that will make her want me? And start asking, how can I create an experience that engages her mind, her heart, and her senses all at once? It's not about perfection. No orchestra plays flawlessly every time. It's about intention. It's about caring enough to bring the full range of your attention, energy, and creativity into the connection. Because when all the sections come together, when emotion, safety, excitement, and curiosity play in balance, desire stops being something you have to chase. It becomes something that flows naturally, something that feels alive in every moment you share. Before the body ever leans in, before a single physical move even has the chance to ignite, something else is happening beneath the surface. The mind is running its own private dialogue, deciding whether the moment feels safe, alluring, or worth surrendering to. The truth is, the pathway to desire doesn't start with a touch. It begins long before that, in the quiet spaces where emotional connection is built. Emotional foreplay isn't a metaphor, it's the real beginning. It's the language that tells someone, I see you, before I want you. It's the invisible current that transforms ordinary interactions into moments charged with meaning. Physical attraction can spark interest, but without emotional ignition, it's like trying to light a candle in the wind. It might flicker, but it won't last. Consider how subtle these moments can be. It might be the way you listen, not just nodding while waiting for your turn to speak, but leaning into the rhythm of their words, catching the small shifts in tone, the pauses where they're deciding whether to share something more personal. That kind of listening says, you matter to me, your inner world matters to me. And that's when walls start to lower. It can be as small as remembering the name of the author they mentioned 2 weeks ago, or asking how that nerve-wracking meeting went without being prompted. These acts seem tiny, but they are signals, consistent, quiet proof that you're paying attention. And in desire, attention is everything. It's the foundation for trust, and trust is the soil where passion grows. Emotional foreplay is also about making space for someone's complexity. It's resisting the urge to reduce them to a single role or trait, People want to feel seen in all their contradictions, the playful and the serious, the confident and the uncertain, the parts they're proud of and the parts they keep tucked away. When you can hold space for all of it without judgment, something extraordinary happens. They start to feel safe enough to bring more of themselves into the connection, and that emotional exposure is deeply seductive. Safety here doesn't mean predictability to the point of boredom. It means emotional grounding. It's the quiet assurance that you won't mock their vulnerability or weaponize their fears. When someone feels certain that they can share themselves without repercussion, their guard drops. And when the guard drops, intimacy has room to move in. There's also a rhythm to emotional foreplay, and it often mirrors the pacing of physical attraction. You don't rush to the crescendo, you allow moments to breathe. A conversation can hover in light-hearted banter before deepening into something more personal, the same way a glance can linger just long enough to suggest interest without forcing it. These shifts are felt, not forced. They create anticipation, the kind that makes a person lean closer without realizing it. Humor, too, plays its part, the kind of humor that's not just about getting a laugh, but about creating a shared bubble, a tiny private world where the two of you get the joke that no one else does. That sense of us against the world is a potent emotional primer for desire. It makes the connection feel exclusive, special, and alive. Emotional foreplay often begins in non-obvious places. It can be built through shared experiences, getting caught in the rain and laughing your way through it, collaborating on a silly kitchen experiment, walking side by side through a street market without any agenda. These experiences may seem ordinary, but they create memories layered with meaning. Later, when a hand brushes against a hand or a glance lingers too long, it's these moments that give that touch its electricity. It's also about the energy you bring into a room. Some people carry a kind of open presence that makes others feel instantly at ease. They don't rush to fill every silence. They aren't scanning for their phone mid-conversation. They aren't mentally rehearsing what to say next. They're there, fully there. This kind of presence is rare, and when someone feels it, they can't help but lean into it. In a culture that constantly pulls attention in 100 directions, offering undivided presence is an act of seduction in itself. In emotional foreplay, validation plays a powerful role, but it's not about empty flattery. True validation is about reflecting back to someone their own worth, showing them what you genuinely admire or appreciate without making it transactional. It's noticing that they light up when they talk about something they love and encouraging that energy, not because it serves you, but because you delight in seeing them fully alive. Another layer to this is emotional reciprocity. Just as you invite someone into your emotional space, you also open yours to them. This doesn't mean oversharing or unloading. It means being willing to reveal pieces of yourself that aren't polished for public display. Vulnerability, when shared in balance, creates a loop of connection. You show them you trust them enough to let them in, and in turn, they feel safer letting you in. The most powerful thing about emotional foreplay is that it lingers. Long after a conversation ends, a message can echo in someone's mind. A well-timed compliment, an empathetic response, a shared laugh, it all builds an undercurrent of desire that is far stronger than fleeting attraction. The body remembers how it felt to be truly seen, and that memory can spark physical longing even when you're apart. Emotional foreplay also thrives in consistency. A single grand gesture might be memorable, but it's the small, repeated acts of care and attention that keep desire warm over time. Checking in when you know they've had a long day, following through on promises, making them feel prioritized in a world full of distractions. These are the brushstrokes that paint the picture of someone worth longing for. In many ways, it's the prelude to everything else. When emotional foreplay is present, the smallest physical touch can feel amplified, charged with layers of meaning. Without it, even the most skillful touch can feel hollow. It's the difference between a note played alone and that same note played within the swell of a full orchestra. It gains depth, resonance, and emotional weight. And perhaps the most underestimated aspect of emotional foreplay is that it can't be faked. You can mimic the behaviors, ask the right questions, nod at the right times, but if your attention isn't genuine, it shows. People sense when they're being truly regarded versus when they're being managed. Authenticity is the lifeblood here. Without it, the whole thing collapses. When done with sincerity, emotional foreplay creates a gravitational pull. It draws someone closer without them feeling pushed. It's subtle, almost invisible in the moment, yet undeniable in its effect. It turns everyday interactions into fertile ground for desire, because the mind, the heart, and the senses have already been primed long before the first physical spark. There's a certain allure in confidence, the easy way someone carries themselves, the calm steadiness in their voice, the unshakable sense that they belong wherever they are. Confidence is magnetic, but it's only half the story. The deeper, more intoxicating force is presence. Confidence can draw attention, but presence holds it, and in a world full of noise, the ability to be fully, unwaveringly there is rare enough to feel like magic. Presence is more than simply occupying the same space. It's about giving the moment and the person in it your undiluted attention. It's the difference between nodding along while mentally scrolling through your to-do list and actually hearing the weight behind someone's words. It's not just looking at them, it's seeing them. There's a stillness in presence, a quality that says, nothing else matters right now except what's happening between us. It's astonishing how rare that feels. Most people live in a state of divided focus, multitasking their way through conversations, half invested in their surroundings. You can feel it in the way their gaze drifts, the way their phone buzzes and they break eye contact, the way their responses seem preloaded rather than arising from true engagement. Presence is the antidote to this fragmentation. When someone offers it, it feels like a warm light narrowing in on you alone, making everything else fade into the background. Confidence without presence is like a firework, bright, loud, captivating for a second, then gone. It can grab attention, but it doesn't invite someone to stay. Presence, on the other hand, creates gravity. It draws people closer, makes them want to linger, because being in the field of someone's full attention is deeply validating. It makes you feel significant in that moment, and significance is a powerful catalyst for desire. There's an energy shift that happens when presence is real. Conversations slow down, pauses feel natural rather than awkward. The exchange becomes less about filling space and more about exploring it together. Even silence has weight, carrying with it a kind of unspoken intimacy. This is why presence can be so alluring. It creates a shared pocket of reality where nothing else intrudes. Eye contact is a cornerstone of this, not the kind that stares down or dominates, but the kind that feels like it's listening on its own. Eyes that soften when the other person shares something vulnerable, that light up at their excitement, that linger just a second longer than necessary to let them know you're truly here. Genuine eye contact isn't about locking in, it's about staying open. Body language plays its role as well. Facing someone fully, leaning slightly toward them, mirroring their movements without thinking. These small physical cues signal that you're tuned into their wavelength. Even the smallest gestures, turning your body toward them instead of keeping 1 foot angled toward the door, send subtle but powerful messages. They say, I'm not in a hurry to leave this space with you. Presence also requires restraint. It's resisting the impulse to interrupt with your own story, to jump in with advice before they've even finished speaking, to mentally prepare your response while they're still talking. It's allowing them the space to unfold at their own pace. When someone feels they can take their time, their guard lowers, and what they share becomes more genuine. Another layer to presence is attunement, the ability to pick up on shifts in mood or energy and respond accordingly. It's noticing when someone's enthusiasm dips and gently asking why. It's recognizing when they're excited about a topic and letting them run with it instead of steering the conversation back to yourself. Attunement says, "I'm not just hearing your words, I'm feeling your state." This attunement often works best when paired with curiosity, not the shallow kind that fires off a checklist of questions, but genuine interest, the kind that follows the thread of what they're saying and wants to see where it leads. Curiosity fuels presence because it keeps you anchored in the now. Instead of rushing toward the next moment, you're exploring the richness of this one. The irony is that presence often takes more vulnerability than confidence does. Confidence can be performed, rehearsed in posture, tone, and expression. Presence asks for something riskier, the willingness to put aside the armor of constant self-presentation and actually engage. It asks you to listen without knowing exactly what you'll say next, to open yourself to being changed by the interaction rather than steering it toward a pre-planned outcome. When presence is paired with confidence, the effect is profound. The confidence assures the other person that they are safe in your company, you're grounded, you're sure of yourself. The presence assures them they matter, that you're not just here to impress or persuade, but to connect. Together, they create an atmosphere where attraction can deepen naturally. This is particularly powerful in moments of vulnerability. When someone shares something real, something raw, the way you meet it matters. If your attention wavers, if you rush past it or dismiss it with a joke, you close the door they've just cracked open. But if you hold the moment, steady, unflinching, and open, you allow the connection to move into deeper territory. Those are the moments that linger in memory, long after the details fade. Presence can also live in playfulness. It's in the way you notice a fleeting smirk and call it out with a grin, in the way you catch a subtle gesture and turn it into an inside joke. These micro moments of recognition and responsiveness create a shared reality, a small bubble where the two of you are the only ones tuned into the same frequency. That intimacy of attention is intoxicating. Even in physical intimacy, presence changes everything. A kiss given while the mind is elsewhere feels hollow. A kiss given while fully aware of the other person's breath, posture, and response feels like an entire conversation without words. Presence amplifies sensation, deepens connection, and makes even the smallest touch feel significant. The challenge is that presence can't be faked. You can imitate the behaviors, maintain eye contact, nod in the right places, but if your mind is elsewhere, it shows. People sense distraction on an almost primal level. They can tell when your attention is split, and that fracture subtly undermines trust. Real presence comes from a genuine choice to be her, be now, and to set aside the mental clutter that competes for your focus. This doesn't mean every moment together must be intense or deeply intimate. Presence can be light-hearted, casual, even silly. What matters is that whatever the tone of the moment is, you're actually in it. If you're laughing together, you're laughing with your whole self. If you're talking about something mundane, you're still engaged because the connection matters more than the content. In many ways, presence is an act of generosity. It says, "You are worth my full attention. You are worth slowing down for." In a fast-moving world where everyone is racing to the next notification, the person who can make someone feel like they are the only thing in focus is unforgettable. And that feeling, being truly seen and felt, is one of the strongest sparks of desire there is. Desire has an appetite for the unknown. It feeds on curiosity, on the little moments that surprise and intrigue, on the sense that there's still more to be discovered, no matter how long you've known someone. Routine, while comfortable, has a way of dulling the edges of attraction if it isn't balanced with novelty. Familiarity can build safety, but mystery keeps the spark alive. It's the element that makes someone lean forward, wondering what might happen next. Mystery doesn't mean secrecy in the sense of withholding who you are or playing manipulative games. It's not about creating distance to provoke attention. Real mystery is about depth. It's about having layers, parts of yourself that reveal over time, experiences that unfold in unexpected ways, stories and perspectives that aren't all on display from the start. It's the awareness that no matter how much someone thinks they've learned about you, there's still more to explore. Novelty works in a similar way. It shakes up the rhythm just enough to prevent the relationship from falling into autopilot. It might be a sudden invitation to watch the sunrise, a midweek adventure that turns a normal evening into something unforgettable, or a playful challenge that disrupts the predictability of your conversations. Novelty keeps the connection in motion, refusing to let it calcify into monotony. What makes both mystery and novelty so effective in fueling desire is that they create anticipation. When someone can't predict every move you'll make, their mind stays engaged, scanning for the next surprise. It's not about being erratic or unreliable. Those things erode trust. It's about bringing enough variation to keep the connection dynamic and alive. This can start in small, subtle ways. It could be as simple as changing the way you greet someone, sometimes warm and familiar, sometimes with a teasing spark. It could be switching up your usual routines together, taking a different route on a walk, trying a cuisine neither of you has experienced, introducing each other to music or books you love. These gestures may seem light, but they create microbursts of freshness that keep the air charged. The emotional side of mystery comes from revealing your inner world gradually. It's not about hiding, but about pacing. You might share a story from your past that explains something about who you are now, but leave space for other stories to surface later. You might express a new goal or passion that you've been quietly developing. The point is to let the connection feel like a continuous discovery where layers are peeled back naturally rather than dumped all at once. There's also a kind of playful tension in novelty and mystery. When you surprise someone, not just with actions but with perspectives, it keeps their curiosity alive. Maybe you have a skill they knew about, or an unexpected insight on a topic they assumed you wouldn't care for. These moments create small, delightful disruptions in the mental image they've built of you, encouraging them to keep looking closer. Adventure is a powerful tool here. Shared adventures, even small ones, have a way of deepening bonds because they create new shared memories that are distinct from everyday life. It might be something as grand as traveling to a place you've both never been, or as simple as exploring a part of your own city you've never thought to visit. The novelty isn't just in the activity, it's in seeing each other in a new context, reacting to new stimuli together. In long-term connections, mystery and novelty require intentionality. It's easy to fall into patterns where everything is predictable. The danger isn't in knowing someone well. The danger is in assuming you already know everything worth knowing. People are constantly evolving, but if you stop being curious, you'll miss it. Continually asking questions, exploring ideas together, and making space for each person's growth ensures there's always something new to discover. Flirtation thrives in this territory. A playful glance, a sudden whisper in a crowded room, a note left in an unexpected place. These moments inject an element of unpredictability that makes the ordinary feel charged. It's not about grand gestures. Often, the smallest acts have the biggest impact when they arrive unannounced. Even physical intimacy benefits from novelty. This doesn't mean constant reinvention for the sake of change. It means being open to new expressions, trying things differently, and noticing how those shifts alter the energy between you. It could be a change in pace, a different environment, or incorporating a shared fantasy into reality. Novelty keeps intimacy from becoming mechanical, transforming it into a space of ongoing exploration. Mystery also invites imagination, and imagination is a powerful driver of desire. When you don't know exactly what someone will say or do next, your mind starts to fill in possibilities. This creates a mental engagement that extends far beyond physical presence. You might find yourself wondering about them when they're not around, replaying interactions to catch nuances you missed, or anticipating the next time you'll meet. The balance between mystery and openness is important. Too much mystery can feel like emotional distance. Too little can make things stale. The sweet spot is where someone feels secure in your connection, yet still curious about what's next. This balance keeps both the comfort of stability and the thrill of discovery alive at the same time. Novelty also works because it engages the senses in new ways. A new environment brings new sights, sounds, and sensations, all of which the brain associates with the person you're with. That association strengthens attraction because your mind links them to excitement, pleasure, and stimulation. Over time, these sensory memories build a rich, layered attraction that isn't easily replicated. It's also worth noting that mystery isn't only about what's shown, it's about how it's shown. You could tell someone a story straight, or you could weave it slowly, letting them lean in for more. You could answer a question fully, or you could answer just enough to invite a follow-up. This pacing draws people in, encouraging them to invest their attention and energy. Sometimes novelty can be as simple as breaking the rhythm of your shared time. If you usually talk in the evenings, send a midday voice note. If you always meet in familiar places, suggest somewhere unusual. These shifts, though small, tell the other person that you're thinking about the connection beyond its routine boundaries. And in moments when life feels too heavy or repetitive, novelty can be the breath of fresh air that revives not just the connection, but the individuals within it. It reminds you both that the world is bigger than the patterns you've fallen into, and that the relationship is a space for growth, play, and surprise, not just maintenance. The real power of mystery and novelty lies in their ability to keep desire active rather than passive. Instead of letting the spark fade into a background comfort, they keep the flame in motion, inviting curiosity, engagement, and imagination. They create a living connection, one that doesn't settle for being known, but continues to evolve, layer by layer, moment by moment. If you'd like, I can now weave all 4 expanded keynotes into a single seamless manuscript, so it reads as one cohesive motivational speech. So here's the truth. Desire isn't an accident, and it's never just about one thing. It's a living, breathing exchange of emotion, attention, presence, trust, curiosity, and surprise. When you stop chasing shortcuts and start engaging with the full spectrum, when you play the whole symphony instead of one lonely note, you don't just spark attraction, you sustain it. These secrets aren't tricks, they're reminders of how deeply human connection runs. Learn them, live them, and you'll discover that the real magic isn't in making someone want you once, it's in making them want to keep discovering you again and again.